Here's an update on striper fishing in the canal by End Eddie Doherty, a retired Massachusetts court clerk magistrate appointed by the late Governor A. Paul Cellucci, author of 7 Miles After Sundown about surf casting the Cape Cod Canal for striped bass.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Cape Cod Canal for our fishing report. So this year the season started in April and May. Fishing was pretty good. Bill Prados was doing great, pulling in a lot of great fish, but the June swoon came in, and June, a lot of people have been disappointed in the month of June, including me. Just not many fish around at all. Nobody really understands why, because there's bait in the canal, but there are striped bass in Buzzards Bay and Cape Cod Bay, but for some reason they're not coming into the canal. So hopefully that's going to change, and things will be better. Last Wednesday we had the new moon. I like the new moon better than the full moon. The full moon is so bright that it seems to scare fish out of the water almost, unless it's cloud cover. But the new moon didn't do anything either. It may have, the positive effects of it may have been diminished by the heat because it's been so hot. And so anyway, hopefully things get better. And the year started though with a woman, a 31-year-old woman, being rescued from the canal in January. And I don't have any other details on that except the fact that she was rescued, so that's good. That means she's okay. I don't know what happened there, but hopefully that's the last rescue that will be needed in the canal this year. And I want to congratulate Captain Jason Colby of Little Sister Charters. He was awarded by the Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries as the Skillful Skipper Award in January. Jason guided clients to several qualifying entries in the Massachusetts Saltwater Fishing Derby. It's actually his second year in a row he's gotten that award, the Skillful Skipper Award. And he's a great guy and a terrific fisherman, so I'm happy that he got that award. He named his charter company Little Sisters, Little Sister Charter, because he married a girl from Vietnam, and her name translates in English to Little Sister, so he named it that. And the Army Corps of Engineers announced at the beginning of the season, I say the season, striped bass is open all year round, but most people consider April the beginning of the season. And they announced staff shortages, and they were expecting to impact hours of operation of the restrooms, and they're going to have 2 portable toilets. And I thought they found some money for more at one point, but it's too bad that these men's rooms and ladies' rooms aren't open 24/7. I mean, I guess the theory is they're afraid there's going to be some nefarious activity going on in the restrooms, but it's like I remember when Judge Carlin was talking about gas stations, and he says, why did they lock the door to the restroom? Are they afraid somebody might break in and clean it? And it's just kind of crazy, how many people do we have in the Army in this country? If they're that concerned about it, leave the door open and put a couple of soldiers guarding the place. I think we can afford to do that. So the striped bass keeper this year is the same as last year, a slot, 28 inches to less than 31. However, there's one change, and that is that you have to squeeze the tail together, which makes it a little bit longer when you measure it. I don't agree with this. I think it's a pain in the neck. I mean, you've got a fish there flopping, and you're trying to measure it, and you only got 2 hands. You're holding the tape measure, and now you also need a third hand to squeeze the tail, because the tail isn't going to stay squeezed. You got to squeeze it while you're measuring it. They should have just changed the numbers, I think. But anyway, so in April, Rob Fish Sticks Pisa and Hammer and Jack Barton caught some fish in the Taunton River, which is not far from the canal. Rob Fish Sticks Pisa is a great guy. They call him Fish Sticks because he's a fisherman, also he's a drummer, Sticks, so. And so in the first week of May, Bill and the girl Prados, he caught a 34-inch right off the bat, but then he said, as the season went on, he was catching fish over 40 inches. He's having a terrific season up until the June swoon, like the rest of us. And Bull McKinnon caught a baker's dozen in the canal. Those were the first canal fish I heard of in April. U.S. Air Force veteran Harold Skelton held his annual Black Sea Bass tournament for the Fishing for the Mission 22. Unfortunately, that number 22 is the number of veterans that take their life every day in our country. And so he raises a lot of money to help the veterans. And that was a great tournament. They had a grand prize of $3,000, an awards ceremony. And the rest of May and June produced striped bass for many canal rats, like Insane Wayne Cole, who was supposed to be a grandfather a week ago. I haven't heard. He might be a grandfather already. Insane Wayne has a canal bike. He's also a hunter, and he shot a deer and got the skeleton out of it. I don't know how he did that, but anyways, the front of his bike is mounted with the deer's head and the antlers. So you see him riding down the service road, it's quite a sight, especially if he's coming out of the fog. It looks like a horror movie, you know. And also a lot of guys caught fish. Bloodhound Steve Colleran, Paul Sarinsky, Kevin R&D Blaze, Glenn Lucky Cigar Lindsay, Henry Chong, Jay Saucia, Nikolai Gaykov, Piri Kotkos, Justin Shooter Dorsey, Slapshot Scotty Yule, Carlos Reyes, Kyle Mick Fleetwood, Gino Desoro, and other, Bill Prados fishes with these guys. They call themselves the Boys of Summer, and they caught fish too, including Mashpee Mike Larea, Tim Hollywood Petrarca, John Sea Dog Schmidt, Paulie the Painter Gravina. I caught fish. Keith OFD Dacey, originally from Dorchester, the pride of Savin Hill. Paul Spocky Euskatis, and Adirondack Jim Crome. Those last two guys caught fish with cut bait, mackerel. They were using it slack tide. Mike Dick, a great Bourne, a guy who lives in Bourne. He's a great lure maker in addition to being a great fisherman. But high hook so far goes to Joe Greengloves Monahan, and he's a great guy, and he caught a lot of big fish, including one day he caught two 47-inch striped bass and a 48-inch. He was using the jig he was using was a Shaddy Daddy made by Striper Gear. So I said, I'm going to tell the owner of Striper Gear, Mike Webster, that since Monahan's such a beautiful Irish name, they should change the name of that jig to the Irish jig. And I'll just mention one other thing about John Sea Dog Schmidt. He had told me he was so frustrated that he said that he couldn't even get the no-see-ums to bite. So the bugs weren't even biting. So just some of the lures that have been successful. The Hurley Canal Killer, Al Gags, Jigs, Happy as a Clam, Striper Gear, Shaddy Daddy, Mystic Glider, Magic Swimmer, Guppy Jobo, and the Super Strike. There's other ones too, but those have been very good. So the Falmouth Fishermen's Association held their annual Black Sea Bass tournament recently, and there's a lot of canal rats in that club, including yours truly. And this year it was won by a canal rat, Mashpee Mike Larea. And Mike caught 8 fish over 140 inches total, way over 140 inches. And so he got to take home the coveted FFA Cup, Falmouth Fishermen's Association. He's a great guy, so I'm happy for him. Lately there's been a lot of weed in the canal. The good news is it's not that gunky stuff that sticks to your hook, but there's a lot of weed in there. So on every cast, when you bring your lure in, you gotta pull that weed off of your lure and clean your lure. And it's been really prevalent for about a week. I mean, I haven't seen this much weed since the Grateful Dead were in town, to tell you the truth. But so it's been slow, but like I said, there's been no lack of bait. There's mackerel, a lot of mackerel in the East End. There's bunker near Sagamore Bridge, and Silversides near Mass Maritime Academy. One of the nicest things I saw at the beginning of the year, I was happy to see. I was in the parking lot at the State Pier, and close to the East End, and then they had a sign there that was new. I hadn't seen. They installed it over the winter, and it was a reserved spot for veterans, which I thought was great. It says on the sign, "Veteran parking only. Thank you for your service," and there's a nice American flag there, and you know, that's a small token of our appreciation for veterans. If not for veterans, we couldn't live in the greatest country on the face of the earth. So I'm very pleased that there's some recognition. I spoke one day at the Braintree Town Hall, and they had the same thing. That was the first place I ever saw that, where you had a reserved spot for veterans. So I think that's great. I think every government parking lot in America should have that, and hopefully they do someday. The other day, my wife, J. Doe, she wanted to cook some chicken, so she reached into the freezer and she pulled out some chicken to defrost it, and she put it in the microwave to defrost it. Well, now there's a putrid odor coming out of the microwave, and so, you know, the whole kitchen is being permeated by this terrible smell. So she opened up the microwave, and it turns out that she didn't put chicken in there. She put squid in there that I was using for bait. But so my tip of the month is that if you're gonna put bait in your freezer, make sure you label it. You know, put BAIT in big black letters or something, so your wife doesn't pull it up by accident and try to cook dinner with it. So till next time, catch a big one.
Want your nice canal catch mentioned? Email the details to eastendeddie789@yahoo.com.